Hello and welcome to the strategy, integration strategy with the HyperAutomation. So my name is Adnan, and I will be quickly introduce about the subject. Rapid technology changes in is displacing traditional processes, disciplines, and ways of working across all industrial and oil gas sector. And oil and gas sector is no exception. In the engineering process, you define what you want to do, design it, build it, test it, and prove that you have done it. However, the key is that integration of all these steps is not easy. For years, front-end engineering planning is considered to be the most important process within lifecycle engineering projects. 47% of failed projects executions are due to poor front-end engineering design. 80% of rework that needs to be done are due to the requirement errors in FEED accuracy. In this panel discussions with the member panelists, we will examine what are the key challenges and pitfalls in attaining desired maturity and accuracy levels in front-end engineering design. And we will drive an integration strategy with HyperAutomation to attain successful digital transformation of front-end engineering design. I would like to go through our panel members. We have with us Layla Jawahri, Senior Design Engineer, Kuwait Oil Company. And we have with us Layla Sarraf, Electrical Design Engineer, Kuwait Oil Company. So Jawahri, may I request you to tell us about yourself, introduce yourself to us. What are your roles and responsibility within KOC? And
my name is Laila Jawahri. I'm a senior engineer in Kuwait Oil Company, responsible for the electrical feed stage, technical requirements, all engineering reviewing.
Thank you, Jawahri, for your short, brief introduction. And Layla, I would request you also to introduce yourself and tell us about your roles and responsibilities within KOC.
So I'm Layla Al-Sarraf. I'm an electrical design engineer. My responsibilities within my team, some of them at least, is to develop a project feed package and manage the related project activities as required from concept to completion, in line with the company engineering standards and project specific as well. Also to undertake the required communication process and the subsequent work with the concerned parties and the stakeholders, either during FEED, detailed engineering, or the commissioning phase, as well as to evaluate the technical project documents in the bidding stage.
So if I like kind of ask you, Jawahri, that when we look into the front-end engineering design, what is the importance of FEED and front-end engineering planning, and why it is so important for successful execution of engineering projects?
Okay, see, the FEED stage is the basic project business. In the FEED stage, we can estimate the cost. We can do all the technical requirements, produce all the drawings, all the technical requirements and the data sheets for each discipline. By that, we can do also a risk management. So with all these things, all the activities that will be done during this FEED stage can help us to proceed with the project more quickly, reducing the adjustment orders even for future adjustment orders. Surveying the site can also help us for producing the drawings.
Exactly. I would also like to add that unlike the common understanding or the leading idea that FEED is just to determine a rough cost estimate, actually FEED is the basis of the detailed engineering, and it's form the cornerstone of bidding the contract, and it has a significant impact on every project phase that follows. As a result, poor execution of FEED can easily result in a project going over budget and past the schedule.
Would you also elaborate us that in the front-end engineering planning, what are the stages or what are the levels in which the FEED takes part? As I understand, it starts with the feasibility, goes with the concept and detailed scoping before we go into the design and construction. So, so how would you see the phases of?
So first there's the brainstorming of the idea, and then there's the feasibility study, and then we build a business case. Building the business case, the business case that comes prior to the FEED requirements or the FEED engineering stage, it's more or less like a conceptual design stage where only the main elements or general outlines are being defined. We have to add more layers of details into it in the FEED. Further to the FEED comes the detailed engineering, and then the contract comes the contract, and then the detailed engineering, and then the execution and commissioning of the project.
Okay, and how important is in the cost estimation the FEED plays the role in the cost estimation of the project?
It plays an essential role. It's I mean, the cost estimate is based on the FEED package, on the elements that we define, that we listed, that we stated in the FEED or in our technical documents. This is the basis of the cost estimates of the project.
Okay, and does it all constructability study of the execution in the execution phase, or work breakdown structures?
Yeah. Planning are responsible of such thing. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Anything, Jawahri, you would be want to add from the schedule perspective? That how important FEED is to define the schedule or the time frame for the project?
She said it. She just explained it.
Okay. Layla, would you say want to mention about the risk management plan?
No, actually, don't know much about the risk management plan. It's an area that I always want to be involved and learn more about, but unfortunately, I didn't have the opportunity.
Okay, but you do agree that FEED plays a major role in evaluating the risks for the project?
Definitely, yes. The only area that I'm aware about and that can cause like a kind of disruption to the schedule or the plan of the project, and it's being tackled by the plan engineer and the project management engineers, are the long lead items and how they will build things around that critical area.
Okay, that's very informative and insight. Jawahri, I would like to kind of ask that the diversity of contracts and platforms across various engineering functional groups, electrical, mechanical, process engineering, civil. So all these groups results in humongous amount of data being generated in a dispersed way. This increases the volume of information handled and induces risk associated with system interdependency and poor integration. So what are the integration challenges across various engineering functional groups that can cause roadblocks or increase in kind of cost overrun or schedule or budget overruns?
We can talk about the as-built drawing. The non-availability of the as-built drawing. The as-built drawing is the drawing that's submitted by the contractor due execution of the work, showing the updated work that has been done on the site. So in case of non-availability of these drawings, that means more surveying for future projects. That's even will facing more introduction with the construction stage. More problems can occur and happening. There's also the idea of the documentation, how we can track these documents, how is it available for the existing projects and the old projects. We can add the data management. If we can centralize the data management like one platform, in this platform we can add all the technical requirements. We can collect, so we can organize and store the standards and protect it, of course, like authorized only for the engineers who's actually working on this project. It will be much easier for them to access and accelerate the work and the time spent on that. We can add the teamwork also. See if all the team's members working together. Of course, we will save more time on that instead of people working individual, collecting the data, each one for himself, not sharing with the others.
So so basically, I see that you highlighted the quite many of the areas over here. I want to ask you that when you mentioned that as-built drawings, non-availability of as-built drawings. So what exactly you are like kind of referring to? Is it that when the original project or the previous projects are not created, the drawings are not created, or they are not managed and maintained or not updated? What exactly?
No, for each contract, after the commissioning stage, the contractor must submit drawings showing the exact work has been done on the site. Sometimes, even during the engineering details, it can vary from the FEED stage due to site condition. So we need the exact drawing of what happened in the site. That's what we mean by the as-built drawings. So all the contractors at the commissioning stage must submit these drawings. This will help for future drawings.
Okay, and do you face challenges when those drawings are submitted? They are not as per the actual, and you need to do like kind of physical surveys or site visits to verify and validate those
No, we don't have. If it's the as-built drawing as per what's on the site, the construction engineer they can review these drawings. So they will know if this drawings is actually as per the site or not. Instead of sending a survey, spending time and effort for something, this already can be done by as-built drawings.
Okay, so for future enhancement, for future enhancements of to an existing asset.
Yeah, yes, for future project, exactly. That can really help.
Sure. And the thing is that what are the what exactly you see, or the trend that when the as-built drawings are not available, so how they are what is being done? Is it being at that time a site visit is done, or
yeah, in the FEED stage a survey must be done, but if the drawing is available, the time spent on the survey will be less. Now, if this drawing is not available, that means more time will be spending on the survey, and more activities will be done for that. And sometimes even the survey will not be enough, that during the construction stage, surprises happened and, not as per the plan, and delaying the project.
Okay. Layla, what are your thoughts on the impediments or the challenges which basically you see in the integration of between functional groups?
One of the main thing, in my opinion, is practicing a linear process, which focus a lot on individuals rather than focusing on the project output or a successful project completion. In a linear model, it's a usually one-way process in which one party is sender and then the other is a receiver, and there is a between. According to the model, many things can affect the process. For instance, the choice of channel selected may affect the receiver, the way the receiver interprets the message. Let's say you choose to report or to communicate by email or face-to-face or through a messenger or through memos. Also, a number of disruptions can occur at any point. They can be either psychological, whereby the psychological states of the sender and receiver can affect the outcome, such as the amount of knowledge, competency, the amount of stress or anxiety, or they can be physical, such as the distance or the availability of the other party. Even though for specific cases, a linear model or the waterfall methodology is required and must have, especially when other works depend on someone's input, or when you're working on defined environment with a defined requirements, such as the time, cost, or the plan, where there's no room for contract negotiation, then following a structured plan, a waterfall methodology, is the main driver and the scope of work. Another thing, another challenge, and I think my colleague has already relate to, is the excessive documentation, which makes it hard to maintain and also to track the job. As well as, I would say, utilizing previous projects' data to deliver a new one. I mean, if we're not talking about a brand new project, I think most oil and gas companies, during preparation of engineering package, the technical document is built based on a previous similar project type. And sometimes the data mentioned in there are either outdated or defective in a way that they do not comply with the standard somehow, or the engineering calculations were miscalculated, just an example. And also in that case, we miss the opportunity in the case where we utilize previous projects to deliver new ones, especially when we're talking about a project that we have completed in the past 5 years. We're missing the opportunity of being in line with the latest inventions in the global market. I would also add the complexity of managing changes in technical requirements. Just an example, if a civil engineer makes a change in his document regarding a dimension of a building, which is like a very simple, straightforward example, what happens in real is much more complicated. Then all of the multi-discipline engineer team working on the same project have to reflect the same changes on all of their related documents, such as the drawings, the technical specification, the data sheets, etc. Also, poor communication, like either between the, either within the team itself or with the stakeholders as well. And due to the previous 2 points that I just mentioned, which are the poor communication and then managing changes in technical requirements, sometimes you can find contradiction among the same project. I mean, we might end up with non-consistent project information or data listed in different disciplines document for the same project. Last but not least is working in uncertain environment. And that's because either the project objectives are not properly understood or not properly investigated or stated in the pre-FEED stage.
Yeah, thank you for sharing all these thoughts. And we will keep our session as interactive as possible. There are questions keep coming to us. I have a question, which basically the topic which we were discussing about was that during the COVID, there have been issues with regards to contractors traveling to Kuwait in order to look for the project size during the tender process due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Is KOC working on any technology-based solutions that will allow site inspection to occur remotely?
Yes, we're using all of these interactive online technologies available in today's market, and we're also kind of going through and brainstorming another idea which is very much related to FEED. We're still like putting things together and trying to discuss the pros and cons. Once it's approved or reach a level where we're confident to share, we will do so. But at the moment, the available technologies in the market that allows online interface, web meeting, etc. All of these things KOC is trying to utilize in order not to delay the projects.
Yeah, thank you for that. There is another question about with respect to Mrs. Layla's comment regarding the absence of some as-built drawings or accurate data that may delay and extend the site service duration. What are her thoughts about advanced digital solutions and digital twins that can reproduce 3D models and 2D drawings of the assets and the added value they bring in terms of quality, cost, and schedule? So, Jawahri, would you want to share with us your thoughts on that?
Okay, now there is actually in KOC we're working with 3D models, but not yet for all these locations now. But this aspect actually is already within KOC. We're starting working with this one, so that can reduce the surveying time for sure. Digital twin can help in many aspects, not only in the surveying, not only for the as-built drawings. It can help even for the construction in the FEED stage for future projects. So can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, it's mainly that can digital twins that can reproduce the 3D models and 2D drawings of the asset, will they add and the added value they can bring in terms of quality, cost, and schedule? So will they that help you?
Sure. Mm-hmm. You know, for long term, for the cost, it's sure. For the long term, it will help. A lot is going to help. Even for the time, it can reduce the time cycle for the projects.
Great. And we will continue taking the questions as we move forward. So, yeah, Laila, you want to say something?
Yeah, when it comes to the 3D model, I mean, having it in advance. I mean, usually the idea of digital twin comes with the commissioning stage of the project. The real data view of a specific project. But in my opinion, if we start with 3D model ahead of time, before the completion of the project, this will makes it much easier for us as a design engineer to deal with the huge amount of data, of documents, and to translate them into a 3D model will bring us all together. Not only the engineering team, but also the construction, also the project management, all of the stakeholders as well. It also enhances the data management. It manages the design assets in a single model. It's also allowed to be more creative and experimental, since we can.
Can we say that we are like you are referring to having a futuristic state use case of digital twins or digital model?
Because according to my understanding to the question is how can we benefit from transferring 3D model into a digital twin? Yes?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So all of these can come into the picture once we use the 3D model in the engineering, or even into in a pre-FEED stage, once we have enough information to interpret into a 3D model, and then moving toward the end of the project phase, towards the commissioning, we can easily transfer it to digital twin technology.
Yeah, great. So thank you for adding onto the answer. Organizations need to establish why technology is important, and the oil and gas sector is no exception. What value they expect from it, and how it will affect their business. So digital integration requires more than just implementing software platforms or moving the cloud computing. It means embracing technology as a whole and using the Internet of Things, drones, sensors, augmented reality, and data science. So all that basically helps in creating your 3D models or digital twins. Those are the those and other innovations will redefine production process, improve product delivery, asset operations and management, and increase productivity. So, what are your saying or state on that, Layla?
It's just makes the perfect sense. I mean, in the ever changing and challenging markets, oil and gas company have always to adapt to the new technologies that comes with the benefits of their use. So all of what you just said make perfect sense.
We have another question. Organizations adapt new technologies over time in response to changes in strategy, which in turn adds to the complexity in disconnected ecosystems. How can we address that? I will add on to it from my side, and then maybe you can, Jawahri or Laila, you can comment on it. I believe not all technologies provides the same value. So having a clear view of internal systems and how they currently operate will help to establish what is working and what is not. How systems cannot connect to each other, or the flow of information, and what needs to be rationalized. So this is kind of the way how disconnected ecosystem complexity and disconnected ecosystems can be reduced.
Okay, Mr. Adnan, if you allow me, from experience, how can we define strategy to overcome integration challenges?
Sorry, say again.
How can we define a specific strategy to overcome the integration challenges that we just were talking about, such as the uncertain working environments, the poor communication, lack of competence, complexity of managing technical changes, contradiction, all of these things. What are the strategies that you're aware about that we can implement in oil and gas to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, it needs to be looked from the perspective that what value is expected from it, and how it will affect the business. So digital integration requires more than just implementing software platforms or moving to cloud computing. So it is like kind of embracing technology as a whole and using the IoT and different technologies of mixed reality, virtual reality, augmented reality, also robotic process automation. These are the things which basically create the strategy of integration. There are integration platforms as a service. You need, from the vendor's perspective, we need the oil and gas sector needs to look into integration platforms and intelligent business process management systems, which basically does the orchestration and digital robotic or digital ops technologies, which are meant for automation of and achieving integration between them. Yeah, please go ahead.
Go ahead, Layla.
In your opinion, if we're looking into integration, a kind of integrated solution that brings together all parties, what are the main things like that we should look at or be more attention to? Like, is it because in the market at the moment there are lots of softwares that provides a comprehensive integration for all disciplines to be together, but are they really doing the job? Are they really going to streamline? Are they really going to make the work easier, or are they going to add more difficulties, more challenges on top of what we have?
See, in a very high level, I would say that there should be a kind of a use cases profiles needs to be created, and then from the vendor perspective, there has to be critical criteria, vendor specific criteria requirements needs to be built, as well as the technical specification or the technical criteria, which satisfies the need has to be. And also from the technology providers, not all the technology providers are same, or they are fit to all. So there is no kind of a silver bullet solution, having a clear view of internal systems and how they currently operate will help to establish what is working and what is not, and how systems connect to each other, the flow of information, what needs to be rationalized. So those are the things which needs to be looked into and while making such a decision.
I have a question. Shall we consider also the company's standards? Now, in oil and gas sector, each company gets its own standards. Can we consider?
See, the standards are from different perspectives. Say for instance, if we are going, we need to go first of all standards which are vendor agnostics. So best practices and standards. Now, since we are talking about digital transformation, so that and digital transformation initiatives mostly now are in the cloud platform. So cloud security. Yeah, sorry, say again.
That's how you collect the information to implement it for the digital transformation.
Yeah, so you would certainly go for advisory services, which basically creates kind of, for instance, Cloud Security Alliance has their compliance for for assessing and validating the capabilities or compliance or audit requirements for the cloud providers. Also, different advisory services like Forrester or IDC or Gartner. Those are ones to look. You can look into the Gartner critical capabilities. That will help you to create kind of an evaluation criteria. You can look into hype cycles, market scopes to identify what are the trends in the technology. You can look into magic quadrants, which basically give a maturity assessment and the reach of the vendors, and their coverage of the use cases. Similar way, Forrester waves are there. So there are different ways of assessing, and then there are industry-specific guidance also available. Like for instance, Construction Industry Institute, which basically gives maturity and accuracy metrics for feed assessment of maturity and accuracy for the feed. So those are the few which I could tell you.
Thank you.
I would like to take, if we have a few minutes left, let me look into the question and we can take some more questions. There have been issues with regards to contract that we have taken. How will hyperautomation impact employees? How can we integrate a digital human approach to empower our workforces? So, Layla, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I have actually.
Yeah, please.
I guess one of them is the subjectivity. Now, as for a project to review it from different stakeholders, we're receiving different comments, but sometimes from the same stakeholders, if a different person review the document, we're receiving a different comment, and that, of course, can affect the output of the project itself. We can talk about during the FEED stage. Now, if we have a new idea, a project with a new idea that has been implemented yet, the time is spent from the discipline engineer to recognize this idea, understand the idea and the concept of the idea, surveying the market for the availability for the implementation. That also will take time, and it's, you know, in the FEED stage we have a time frame. We cannot exceed this time frame. We have to consider also that.
Yeah, Layla, I would also ask would like to ask you quickly another question, which is very related to this one. What are the challenges faced within oil and gas sector with regards to talent and human capital, specifically in various engineering groups? Yes, Layla.
Sarraf, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah.
So I would say like the human factors, and you can see it reflected either in the slip of action or memory lapse or lack of knowledge or competence. As a result of that, we might end up with a possible miscalculated figure or inadequate listed items, under or over evaluated condition, missing necessary details or not listing the necessary details at all, poor performance, violations of standards, or even misunderstanding the requirements. What I'm trying to say is that humans tend to make error, especially when there are huge volumes involved, such as the data that we handle in our team. And we tend, as human beings, we tend to question ourselves a lot, more than once. And as a result, we add a safe margin is added on top of the calculated value, just to be on the safe side. And sometimes it's overstated, it's exaggerated. And I'm not talking about the future margin required.
Yeah, we are almost like kind of running out of time, and we are done. So Layla, Jawahri, maybe you have any closing thoughts about before we close?
Basically for a project during the FEED stage, we're thinking about the accuracy, we're thinking about time saving, and of course reducing the risk in a way that the plant operates safely. So whatever can help that, inshallah, it can be implemented.
Yeah, and Layla, what about you?
The closing?
Yeah, any closing comments before for how you see that you can improve the maturity and accuracy of FEED, and how digital transformation can help it?
Well, it's if we can solve the workforce challenges, if we can solve the trust and subjectivity and dependencies issues, then I believe that we're gonna be in front of and ahead of where we are at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much, Layla. Thank you very much, Jawahri, for joining us. We have already consumed a little bit over time. So thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks to you. Thank you all.